people have questions. What should we do with people who are sinning? How should we treat them? Tanya Perek Lamed Beis, Lev, that's the heart of Tanya, the heart of Klal Yisrael, the heart of Yiddishkeit. And he breaks it down very simple. First of all, everybody knows certain Gemaras, the ones that, supposed to hate the guy. That's the Gemara that everybody knows. It says that when it says in the Gemara that if you see somebody who's your chaveroi, who's sinning, that it's a mitzvah l'snaisai. This is a mitzvah a lot of people like to do. That's a mitzvah to hate them, right? And people like to do this mitzvah, really, really well with Hider mitzvah, right? Hider mitzvah. Right? You know what it says from one of the Chassidish Rebbes, the Avi Fishoff. He said, I'd rather make a mistake and not hate somebody that I was supposed to hate, rather than making a mistake and hating somebody that I was supposed to love. So many people who are hating, and then they find out later, this person went through all kinds of stuff, or the halacha is not like that, and things are different, and they end up, chas v'shalom, hating on a Jew when they weren't supposed to. And there's a different story of a different Rebbe, and they said, how come you're showing love to this Russia? It's a mitzvah l'snaisai. So he said, Kaddish atzmcha b'mutalach. Right? Simple meaning is, you can make yourself holy with things that are mutter. It means like, not to eat things that are, let's say, don't eat steak. You can make yourself holy by things that are mutter. So his message was, maybe it's mutter l'snaisai. I'll make myself holier b'mutalach by not doing the things that are mutter. It's okay, that's not what I want. And also a famous story that they asked the previous Rebbe, the Rayatz. They said, how come you're talking about loving the people who you're supposed to hate? And so he said that if you look at the order of the Shulchan Aruch, it's 4 halakim. Where does it talk about the mitzvah to hate those people that you're supposed to hate? He says that's all the way at the end, the last part. Why? Because you're supposed to go in order. Start at the beginning, fulfill all the mitzvahs properly. Then, if you do all of that at the end you could do that mitzvah also. He says, but for people like you that are starting at the back, right? He said that's not the Torah way. Okay, says the Heilige Tanya Perek Lamed Beis, the Alter Rebbe. Even those that it says b'chaveiroi, that you have a chaver, that it's a mitzvah to hate him, and it even says that on such a person you should tell his Rebbe, you should hate your student. Hainu b'chaveiroi b'Torah b'mitzvahs. It's talking about your equal. Not talking about some kid on the street. It's talking about somebody that's considered chaveira b'Torah v'mitzvahs. He's your equal. And you also already did to repeatedly rebuke your friend. Talking about he's your buddy, he's from, he grew up from, and he's in your situation. Not talking about kips, not talking about kids. Talking about on your level. That's where it talks about mitzvah l'snaisai. Now, but aval mi she'einoi chaveroi is not your colleague. Somebody who's not your colleague. Ve'einoi mekayrev etzlei, he's not close to you. Hinei al zeh, how do you treat such a person? This is really what we're dealing with. Tens of thousands of kids that went off the derech. They're not chaveroi. They didn't grow up with us. They're not your age. They're not 50. They're not 70. They're not a rebbe or a rav or something, right? It says already what to do. And why is this not our gut reaction? It's a Mishnah. It says, Al zeh omar hil hazakein havei mitalmido shel Aaron. Be like Talmidav of Aaron. That should be the gut reaction. If anything, Klal Yisrael should have automatically always reacted like we're instructed to. Havei mitalmidav shel Aaron. It says what to do. Oyev shalom, to love peace. Raidev shalom, to run after peace. Oyev es habriyos, love the creations, creatures. Umekarvan l'Torah. So he says, what does this mean? Loimar, she'af harachoikim mitayras Hashem ba'avedasei. All of you Chabadskers know this. It's in your blood, right? But I don't see everybody doing it. Loimar, she'af harachoikim mitayras Hashem ba'avedasei. It's coming to teach us. This Mishnah is telling us, even those who are far away from Tayras Hashem and Avodas Hashem, and that's why Nikram b'Shem Brius ba'alma. Interesting. It says, Oyev Shalom, Raidev Shalom, Oyev Es Ha-Brios. Why does it call them creatures? Why does it Oyev Es Ha-Yehudim, Oyev Es Ha-Anoshim, Oyev Es Ha-Yisraelim, Oyev Es Chaverim? No. It's referred to the lowest possible living level. It's a creature. What do you call a cow? Brios. So you're talking about somebody that went down from being acting and behaving like a yid. He's not even acting and behaving like a goy. Like so many parents call me up in the beginning, they say, forget about Yiddishkeit. He's not even functioning. He's not even acting like a goy. He has no respect. Right? So this is a person who's acting not like a yid, not like a goy. He's called b'shem brios. He's like a cow, a monkey. And that's what the Tanya is saying that's why the Mishnah says, even though this person is acting nikroim b'shem brios ba'alma, so what do you do with him? Very simple. Tzarech, you might want to write this down. You might want to get it engraved. Tzarech l'mashcham, you should attract them, pull them in, bechavle avoisais ahava, with strong cords of love. That's your job. Very simple. It's not hard. Rejection is not part of it. Telling somebody criticism is not part of it. You're talking about meshicha of ahava. Meshicha of love, influence, to pull somebody, to draw them close. If you say, in my house, you can't come like this, you'll see. 6 months later, do a check. Are they close? No. You lost the account. Who told you to do that? Do anything that's going to be proper to achieve, l'mashcham, to attract them, bechavle avoisais ahava. And then listen what he says. V'kulei v'ulai. And maybe it's going to happen that since they're going to be close to you, you're going to influence them. That happens automatically. They're just going to want to be like you, and you're going to bring them closer to Torah and Avodas Hashem. But what if not? Ve'ein loi. And if you fail, he says, okay, loi hifsid. Schar mitzvahs ahavas reim. At least you don't forfeit the merit of loving your fellow Jew. What do you see from that? That even these people who are acting b'shem brios, even these people who are far away, he calls it af harachoikim mitayres Hashem v'avedasai, you still have a mitzvah of ahavta l'reacha kamoicha, the b'chlal reis, b'chlal reim. They're still considered friends. And it's interesting that that's exactly what the Chazon Ish said. They said, what should we do with people who are off the derech? And he said, Yinasu l'mashcham ba'avoisais ahava, try to pull them in with ropes of love, and God forbid, don't reject them. This is the playbook. Anything that is a mashicha, that brings them closer to you, is good. Because if they're close to you, good things happen. If they're rejected from you, bad things happen. Very simple. So in honor of the Baal Tanya's yahrzeit, every day we should learn it, we have to keep this in mind. This has to be the programming of a Jew. The programming of a Jew is Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. That's my first reaction. Unless I have like a Sanhedrin that tells me to act differently. And to break this, we don't break this. This is our default. People say, no, first you got to put down rules, consequences, boundaries. If nothing else works, okay, then you got to go to Avi. If nothing else works, then you have to go ahead and do Kiruv. If nothing else works. No, this is our default. He says it straight out. And the Chazon Ish said it, and the Baal Shem Tov said it, and so did all the Gedolim. And people still, they won't start with it. They start with, no, if we don't put rules down in the house and put our foot down, they're going to step all over us, and they lose more and more and more kids listening to the advice that comes from the Goyim. Find me one Yiddish source, and I will show you 6,000 that say to be Mekarev Ba'avoisais Ahava, and all the stories that I'm putting together. Where does it say? Where does it come from? So, Klal Yisrael, in the last 30 years, we started dealing with this rebellious teenagers and young adults and kids going off the derech, and it snowballed. We lost tens of thousands of kids. Those families that are following simple Das Torah are by far beating the system, beating the odds. We have to teach this, and we have to learn this, and we have to live this. This was instructive. This is not something that you learn. This is very simple. That where it talks about hating, it's not talking about these kids. And the way to deal with our generation is simply like this. Then the Tanya goes back, and he says, and about those people that are your chaveroi, that you are supposed to, and you have a mitzvah to hate, you're only supposed to hate their actions, but you also have a mitzvah still to love them as a Jew together. Sina mitzad harasha bahem. Love, hate from the part of Ra that's in them. And again, this is not our sugya. And I don't know when it's negeya, but if it's negeya, this is what he says. But still, ahava mitzad b'chinas hatoiv hagonis b'hem. But the love that you have for what's buried inside of them, that they are a nitzutz elikus shebesoichem amachaya nafshem alekis der lechelik lekamimal v'chulu v'chulu. So if you're in that sugya, even then, let's see you do it. Hate and love at the same time, and not let the hatred of their actions take away your love for them as a human being and as a yid, as a chelik lekamimal. Very hard to do. But that's not our sugya. He gives us specific instructions. I beg of everybody. We don't have to go through the first year or 2 or 3 driving kids out of the house, driving them into the psych wards. We have to start right away. Every single Jew, from the top level to the bottom, even if they're acting like a behemoth, the way to deal with them, even though the rachik me'avodas Hashem v'teirasai, is l'mashcham b'chevlei avoisais ahava. That doesn't mean tolerating them. That doesn't mean looking the other way and not saying anything bad when she walks in with a mini skirt, or he walks in with ripped jeans and no yarmulke, or a girl or whatever. You have a question, you need das Torah. That's what we're all about. Ask your Rav, find out what to do. Find out how to be Mekayim this, but never give this up. This is the roadmap. This is what works. This is what works on our kids.